Hello, my name is Elisa Deli. I'm an intuitive tarot reader and astrologer, and I'm here to talk to you today about the solstice and full moon in Capricorn on June 20th and 21st, 2024. We're going to talk about the astrology first, and then we'll get into some cards for an energy reading of what we need to know about this full moon. And first, I'd like to just talk about solstices. That solstices are like peaks. Oh, also, there's a pigeon that's stuck in here. She's flying around, so if you hear something flying, it's the pigeon. I've tried to get her out, but unsuccessfully. So the way that the message that's been coming through for the last week or so is about how a solstice is this peak or valley in this great cosmic inhale and exhale, right? That when we are at a solstice, we're at the peak, either the longest day of the year or the shortest day of the year, where we've reached the limit of a certain polarity, and then the energy shifts and changes, right? So we're at a peak or a valley. If you're in the northern hemisphere, you're at the peak. If you're in the southern hemisphere, you're at the valley. And the equinoxes are kind of like these middle points in the wave process, right? So we're kind of at the peak of either this great cosmic inhale or exhale that's expressed by how many hours of sunlight we get, and that this is what creates the seasons, right? So first of all, the solstice is about a shift in energy. It's about a transition, a change. Something is shifting and changing, okay? And on this particular solstice, what's very interesting is we have the sun at 29 degrees of Gemini, and we have the moon at 15 degrees of Sagittarius. And this sun is in a square with Neptune at 29 degrees of Pisces. Now this is relevant because the 29th degree is called the anaretic degree. One of my teachers, she called it the shamanic degree. There are people in astrology who call it the critical degree. People call it different things, but we can all agree that it's a very important point. Astrologically speaking, the 29th degree in any sign is a point that brings out the potential for both the best and the worst in the sign. It's a culmination point where all of the lessons that have been acquired and learned through the previous degrees of that sign reach this anaretic point, this critical degree, this shamanic degree, where there's a potential for huge transformation, alchemical death and rebirth, and integration of all of the soul lessons that come with that particular sign, that of whatever that anaretic degree is in, right? Now, the danger with this is that it can be too much, right? If someone has a 29th degree placement in their birth chart, it can express itself in all of the worst ways. You can get the absolute worst of that particular sign expressed in your life and in your experience, depending on what planet or point is at that 29th degree. And it can be very challenging, very difficult, and very difficult to embody, to process, and to integrate in a healthy, productive, and harmonious kind of way. So the 29th degree can be very challenging, right? But at the same time, it can also be this huge challenge that brings out the very best. And by going through the worst, you get to the best, right? So this speaks to me that this new cycle that we're moving in until the next solstice is one where the sun at 29 degrees, the sun at 29 degrees of Gemini, our ego, our conscious self, the part of us that shines the most, our conscious frontal lobe, our cognitive thinking, Gemini, right, is in a square, in a tension with that Neptune in Pisces, in its own sign at the 29th degree, which is our higher self, our connection to source, to spirit, our connection to our multidimensionality, our connection to our higher selves, our connections to our subconscious, unconscious mind, our connection to our creativity, to our artistic nature, to our kind of more expansive and non-linear, non-conscious part of our essence and ourselves, right? So it's in this interesting push-pull tension of this square of the sun in Gemini and Neptune in Pisces. And to top it all off, we have the moon at 15 degrees of Sagittarius, showing me that it's going to be a cycle with a lot of emotional seeking, processing, searching for meaning, searching for truth, searching for more information. Perhaps this will be a cycle where collectively we will all be finding new teachers, finding new teachings, finding new doctrines, finding new lineages. It's going to be a very exciting and interesting time. And as I was speaking, I saw 555 on the clock. So it's a breakthrough energy for sure that we're moving into. It feels like a big shift. So, and then that's followed up by, in the next day, on the 21st or the 22nd, depending on where you are on the planet, we have the full moon in Capricorn at 1 degree of Capricorn. This is going to be a very interesting full moon because in July, we have a second full moon in Capricorn at the 29th, the anaretic degree of Capricorn. Okay, so the fact that there are all these kind of anaretic degrees in the mix, and in both of these full moons, that 29-degree Neptune is in play. The fact that there are so many anaretic degrees speaks to me about a big potential for alchemy, a big potential for like a shamanic death and rebirth, kind of bridging two worlds, uniting our higher being, our inner being, our higher self, and our human flesh and blood as a person, and the union of those two realities, right? Now what's interesting is on the Capricorn full moon that we're having now in June, it's happening at 1 degree of Capricorn. And the sense that I was getting by looking at the chart is that, first of all, we have a quincunx, Pluto's quincunxing this full moon. And so this is going to be creating a kind of friction or discomfort. Quincunxes are always, or inconjuncts, some people call them, are always kind of this friction or discomfort. The way that I describe it is it's kind of like when you put on an item of clothing that's like really scratchy or an uncomfortable material, and you just kind of want to rip it off. It's that kind of feeling. So the fact that Pluto is quincunxing this full moon is talking to me about a certain kind of discomfort or agitation in the process of stepping into our new Pluto in Aquarius roles. Now this is something I've been talking about for a while, that with Pluto in Aquarius, wherever Pluto in Aquarius is in your particular birth chart, this is showing you where your new evolutionary soul cycle and soul expression is being asked to step up and to be embodied in a new kind of way, where your personal death and rebirth as your ego identity, bringing your soul gifts onto this plane, where you're being asked to transform and to step into kind of a new role. And this is where Pluto in Aquarius is. So this full moon could be bringing up some insecurity, some fear, some friction, some tension, some self-doubt around stepping into this new Pluto in Aquarius role, right? And also, this full moon is in a T-square to Neptune, okay? Because Neptune is at that 29th degree of Pisces, about to be at 0 or 1 degrees of Aries. So it's technically in a T-square to this full moon. So there could be heightened sensitivity, a lack of focus or motivation. There could be a difficulty to engage with our own emotions or to understand exactly what it is that we're feeling. There could just be a tendency to just feel like not as high energy as perhaps other full moons that we're used to feeling high energy. And it's very important for us to be very aware about our coping mechanisms and any escapist tendencies that we rely on to self-soothe, whether this is drugs or alcohol, whether this is, food, video games, excessive scrolling, codependent dynamics in relationships, whatever your self-soothing mechanism is, whatever you look for outside of yourself to make yourself feel better, be careful, because this full moon will be triggering that part of you, especially any struggles you've been having since 2008 up until now. So during that whole Pluto in Capricorn cycle, reflect about what were your coping mechanisms? What were your weak points or your downfalls, or the ways in which you tried to escape reality when it felt like too much? That could be being brought up and triggered at this full moon. So it's very important for us to, the best way to work with this energy is to give yourself time and space to tap into creativity, to dance, to make art, to listen to music, to be in nature, to tap into all of those Neptunian qualities that are so etheric and spiritual. So focus on your spiritual practices, meditate, spend time in nature, making some art, doing some kind of maybe ceremony or something. That might be a really great way to ground in this energy and harness the positive energy of Neptune. Okay, I definitely would not recommend just like Netflix and chilling and binging and that kind of stuff for this full moon, because it will be heightened and it will dull your senses in a way to where it will be more difficult to take action towards your new soul's purpose that is unfolding, that has to do with that Pluto in Aquarius that you're being asked to step up in, right? So now the full moon in July, I'm going to touch on it really quickly because they are related. I'm seeing in the similar way that between solstices you're going to one cycle and another, these full moons are also connected in this way, right? It's like from one peak down to a valley to the new moon and to the peak again of the other full moon. So the second full moon of July 21st in Capricorn is at that 29th degree again, okay, 29th degree. And this time, the sun is at the 29th degree of Cancer in a beautiful trine with that 29 degree Neptune. So instead of it being in a hard aspect of a square, a T-square, how it was in the first full moon, this is going to be a very beautiful trine. That's a supportive energy that's going to be bringing us, and a sextile to Capricorn. And so this is going to be bringing us a lot more ease and support and fluidity when it comes to stepping into aligning our human self and our human expression and our ego with that higher self, with that spiritual self, with that multidimensional self, right? So this is going to be really exciting. And I will say that it's not a clean energy, because we do have Uranus conjunct a fixed star Algog, I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's fixed star at 26 degrees of Taurus that has some pretty horrific mythology that involves people losing their heads, and is a mythology that is often associated with war, destruction, or people falling from power. People literally, leaders losing their heads or losing their position of authority. And this is going to be squaring Mercury in Leo at 26 degrees in Leo. So there could be some, which, Leo is the archetype of the ruler or the king, right? So there could be some systems, structures, governments that are crumbling or falling apart before our eyes. There could be some things in the media or news that are being revealed around this time that will ultimately be helping all of us on our individual journeys and collectively in this process of aligning our human selves to our higher selves, okay? So I want to get like 3 cards, like one for each of these kind of events, okay? So I want to get one for the solstice and what we need to know about the solstice, one for the first full moon in Capricorn in June, and then another one for the full moon in July. So, Creator of all that ever was or will be, please guide this session and this reading to bring us the messages we need to hear. So what do we need to know about the solstice, please? What do we need to know about the solstice? What do we need to know about the solstice? What does this collective who has been drawn to this reading, what do they need to know about the solstice? What do they need to know about the solstice? What do we need to know about the solstice energy? What do we need to know about the solstice, please? What do we need to know about the solstice? What do we need to know about the solstice? What do we need to know about the solstice, please? Okay, we've got 3 cards, not 1. So we have the Tower, Page of Spades reversed, and the 4 of Cups. Three of Wands at the bottom of the deck. There's something coming through about alignment, right? The process of alignment, about how it's not, alignment is not linear. Alignment is not rational. Alignment is not something you can think your way into. Although it's wonderful for us to understand our traumas, to understand maybe where we get certain inclinations or tendencies, it's not a linear mind Gemini-oriented process. That 29th degree, that anaretic degree of Gemini, right? That sun in Gemini. It's not, we can't think our way to alignment. We can't reason our way into alignment. But we can alchemize our way out of it. We can go into the depths, go into our emotions, go into the feelings, right? This is about tapping into what are the negative feelings that are coming up? What are the fears, anxieties, worries, doubts? How do we feel trapped? This dove, this pigeon that's trapped in this space. I have all the windows open. I have the doors open. But the pigeon is flying up in the higher parts of the ceiling here. She's not flying low enough to where she can get out. She needs to fly down lower into the part that's scary, closer to me, closer to the things that scare her, to be able to get free, right? So it's about going down into the emotions. Otherwise, if you stay up in the higher mind, if you stay up in the air energy, if you stay flying high in the mental space, it's not going to work. You have to go down into the emotions. And examine things one by one. Don't keep things muddled up and confused. Try and identify each individual emotion, each individual trigger, each individual thing that is arising to be looked at. You know, this Tower card is really a card that talks to me about like big time transformation and also kind of the willing participation of us in the spiral process of healing, and how, you know, this Tower, you can see there are steps, there are spiral steps, and there is someone that's at the top in the window. So it's like you can get to the top of the Tower but you have to climb your way, and you have to go around that spiral staircase, and you have to meet yourself at every turn and take a higher perspective each time, right? So For this cycle, from this solstice to the next solstice, this next 6-month cycle until January, until we have the next solstice, this is about not trying to think our way, not trying to reason or rationalize our way to our healing process, but rather going into our emotions, into our fear, into our anxiety, into our apathy, into our doubt, and that being the thing, the key that will help us rise higher and higher into our alchemical, transformative death rebirth process, right? And with 3 of Wands, that's at the bottom of the deck, that's ultimately what's going to lead us to new horizons, new perspectives, a new life, a new way of being that will look very different from the past 6 months or the past year, right? So thank you, that was beautiful. Can we please get now for the full moon in Capricorn? For the full moon in Capricorn, they want to do the archetype cards. For the full moon in Capricorn, please. For the full moon in Capricorn on June 21st, what do we need to know? What do we need to understand about this full moon? 21:12 on the clock as I looked. What do we need to know about this full moon in Capricorn, please? What do we need to know about this full moon in Capricorn? What do we need to know about this full moon in Capricorn? What do we need to know? The Destroyer. What else do we need to know, please? Thank you, thank you, thank you. We have the Destroyer. We have the Mediator. And we have Angel. So, with the Mediator and Angel, remember I was talking about with the astrology, the tension between the higher self and the human self, the tension between the discomfort in this full moon about that quincunx that we're having with Pluto to the full moon, where it's like that discomfort in stepping into this new role that we're being asked to step into, the discomfort into stepping into this new evolutionary phase that Pluto is calling us into. This is what the angel is speaking to me about, is that we are moving into this time with Pluto and Aquarius where all of us are tapping into our higher essence, our inner being, our inner angel, right? We all have this energy. We all are innately connected to source, to the universe, to the creator. We all have angelic qualities. It's just a matter of us removing the blockages that we've acquired throughout our lives that come from trauma, that come from pain, destroying the parts of ourselves and our ego and our personality that aren't actually ours, that we've adopted and developed as a result of pain, right, that we've gone through. Mediator, gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life. Respect for both sides of an argument. Shadow attribute, negotiating with an ulterior motive or hidden agenda, either personally or professionally. Angel, helping those in need with no expectation of return. Shadow attributes, acting innocent or angelic to mislead others, falsely claiming to be in touch with angelic guidance. Destroyer, releasing what is potentially destructive, preparing for a new life. Shadow attributes, intoxication with destructive power, destroying others' dreams or potential. You know, it's that age-old, metaphor that in order for there to be life, there must be death. It's the natural order and way of the universe. When you plant seeds, you plant them in manure, you plant them in compost, you plant them in dying and decaying plant matter, because that's what gives it nutrients to grow. When there is, first there's a black hole and it sucks in all the light and all the life, and then it condenses and then it explodes and creates a new star or a new system. It's the natural order and process of the universe that for there to be new life, there must be some kind of death or just destruction first. And the fact that the destroyer came out first, followed by angel and the mediator, it just feels like we're in this first full moon. It's like we're in a negotiation. We're in a negotiation with our human ego and personality and our higher self, and we're trying to figure out how to bridge the gap, how to bring in and anchor in more of our own angelic energy, more of our higher self into our daily lives, into situations where we're dealing with other people, where we're having to make compromises, where we're having to engage with all different types of people who aren't necessarily on their healing journey or their spiritual journey, who aren't necessarily on the same frequency as us. Often we're looking out in the world, there are horrible things happening all over the world, right? And how do we reconcile that, the contrast of that horror that's happening in so many places in the world right now, with the high frequency love that we're trying to anchor in? How do we reconcile that? How do we make that feasible? How do we do that? How do we embody that? That's what this full moon is about, is this negotiation process, right? And at the bottom of the deck we have the Fool. Light attributes: fearlessly revealing emotion, helping people laugh at the absurdity and hypocrisy. Shadow attributes: using humor to wound rather than to liberate, denial of your emotional truth. Try and come at this with a lightness, if possible. Try and come at this negotiation process with a lightness. But also fearlessly revealing emotion, right? How we were talking about with the solstice energy, that the mind is not going to be the thing that does it. It's going to be going down into the emotions, fearlessly revealing and diving into the emotions. Thank you for echoing that. That was a beautiful confirmation. Okay, so let's see now for the full moon in July. For the full moon in July, please. What do we need to know about the full moon in July? What do we need to know and understand about the full moon in July, please? What do we need to know and understand about the full moon in July? What do we need to know? What do we need to know, please? What do we need to know? What do we need to know about the full moon in July? Thank you. Nine of Spades reversed. The King of Spades reversed. And the Six of Pentacles. Let me see here. Interesting. I'm getting the same message echoed. In the first full moon, we have the Page of Spades reversed, and it was talking to me about the mind. We can't think our way to alignment. It's that same thing. We can't think or rationalize our way into, we can't rationalize our way out of depression. You can't think your way out of depression. You can't think your way out of anxiety. You can't think your way out of mental health issues or emotional issues or spiritual issues. You can't think your way out of those sticky emotional situations. It has to be through the emotional body and through fair, reciprocal give and take, through community. Accepting help from others, asking for help when you need it, giving help when you're able to, and understanding where do you fit in that particular dynamic. Where are you now? Are you at a point where you can help and you can offer and give assistance? Are you at a point where you need to ask for help? Maybe a little bit of both, depending on where you are and what you're doing. 9 of Cups reversed. Yeah, there's an interesting message. It's like this is going to be a very kind of both of these full moons are going to perhaps be quite difficult and challenging in a lot of ways, and there could be some sense of despair or lack of faith or fear that comes in. But the message is to have faith, to trust in our higher selves, to trust in our spiritual team, to trust in the universe, to trust in the process, to trust that we've put in the work, we've put in the emotional work to get us to where we are now, and that work is going to be paid off. We can't think our way out of emotional problems. We can't think our way out of depression or anxiety, but we can think our way and hold on to the truth of what is going well in our lives, what we do have, the people that are around us supporting us and assisting us, the pleasure, the joy, and the beauty that is available to us. There's something about holding on to that truth, holding on to the truth of the things that are going well, rather than focusing on the things that are going wrong, right? Rather than being stuck in this 9 of Swords energy. When it's reversed, it's about this learning how to, this process of releasing, getting out of this energy, letting go of this energy. And it's got to be coming from a place of self-assuredness where we can trust our truth. We can trust what we know to be true. And what we know to be true, we can anchor that into like what we do have. Like I said, what we do have that feels good. The people that are around us, that are assisting us and helping us. Can I get one more for this full moon in July? Oh no, instead of for the full moon in July, can I get a card to help us? What will support us throughout this process? What will support us in this process of traversing through this alchemical time between these full moons? What will support us in this process, please? What will support us in this process during this alchemical period between these 2 full moons, please? To finish off this reading, what will support us in this process, please? Thank you, the High Priestess. Our intuition, our higher self, our connection to the cosmos, our connection to Source, to Creator, our connection to our internal guidance system. Remember, you cannot think your way out of this. The High Priestess does not think her way through anything. She feels her way. She intuits her way. She follows her inner knowing, her inner compass that other people may not understand or think that she is kind of weird maybe for the choices that she's making or the things that she's doing. But she knows because she's following her soul. And that's going to be the thing that helps guide us through this time, is connecting with our higher selves. Wow, with the moon at the bottom of the deck. I mean, thank you. With the moon at the bottom of the deck. And I love this moon card in this deck. I mean, talk about divine feminine energy here, coming in super strong. Look at these cards. Look at all the purple. Look at the moons in these cards. Look at the ceremony and the ritual and the beautiful esoteric magic that's happening here. Trust that things are working out as they should be, regardless of what challenges come up, regardless of what challenges, difficulties, emotions come up regardless of how badly you want to think your way through it. You have to just settle into trusting and knowing that there is a divine plan and that you are already on it, and that there is no way that you can be in the wrong place at this time. There's no way that you're in the wrong place, and that all you have to do is trust yourself, trust your spiritual team, trust God, trust the universe, trust source, whatever word you want to use for it. Trust that this is a time of change, a time of shifting, and a time of us learning how to step more into our higher essence and higher selves. And that you cannot try and think your way through it, but rather you have to trust. You have to lean on it. You have to lean on the intuition when the mind feels confusing or cluttered. You have to lean on your intuition when the information in the world and what's being presented to you is seeming unreliable or untrue. Trust yourself. Okay? Thank you so much for sticking through with this reading with me. This was a beautiful little reading. I hope this was helpful for you. If you're interested in a personal reading, I am available. My information for that will be down below. And if you got here all the way to the end and you enjoyed this reading, give this video a like, or consider giving it a like. It helps me understand what you guys prefer. And yeah, that's it. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.